something that really bothered me when I was in Malaysia. At the time, there were these advertisements on TV and billboards and everything that would say Malaysia truly Asia. But all I was seeing was niqabs everywhere, halal food. And like I was like, am I in Saudi Arabia or am I in Asia? Like, is this Middle East or what's going on? So I was like, what is Malaysian food? I keep on just getting all this Arabic food. There is a lot of tourists from the Gulf, and it's like everything was catered towards them and their tastes. And I thought, that's a real injustice. I'm watching you be colonized right now before my eyes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Yasmine Mohammed podcast. We have a very special episode today, my very first mommy and daughter episode. Today we have Pat and CT. CT is a victim and a survivor of Malaysia's radical Islamic ideology and the people who perpetuate it. After growing up in the harsh climate of fundamental Islam, she moved to Australia in 1991 to start a new and better life. She is a loving mother of 3, enjoys gardening, shopping, and reading. Her daughter Patricia is currently a PhD law candidate and a casual academic in Sydney. She also has a liberal arts background, majoring in English literature. Pat's social media content and writing focuses on animal rights, free speech, and defending Western values. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much, CT and Pat, for joining me here today.
You very much.
We're really honored to be
here.
Wonderful. So CT, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to ask you about growing up Muslim in Malaysia. So how did radical Muslims affect your sense of self and growth as a child? What was that like for you growing up under that fundamentalist ideology?
It's not that difficult because we got our modern parents, My dad is very, very, very modern and broad-minded, as well as my mom. So I don't have any problem, and we kids, we don't have any problem. So, but the Muslims in Malaysia, they are kind of keeping to themselves. They hardly join other races. We had Chinese, Indians, Bengalis, and Eurasians. So they don't mix. They mostly goes to the prayers, to the mosque, fasting, and memorize the Quran. And as well as their kids, as young as 6 years old, they have to learn the Quran, they have to pray and fast for 30 days.
Yeah, that was me as a child. Now, did they judge you and your family because you were more open-minded and you were willing to have non-Muslim friends and Chinese friends?
Oh, we are very lucky. We live in the town, We didn't live in the village, Muslim village, because my dad worked in a lab assistant in town. So they give us a proper house, a good house, where all the races there, So we don't have Muslim families over there, only the Chinese and the Indians. No, my dad also won't want it because my dad don't like them.
Right.
Yes. Mom's immediate family was quite supportive, but her extended family, like her uncles and aunties, that's where
the problems comes in. Yeah.
So tell me about your aunts and uncles. Were they more religious?
Oh, they're more religious. They're more into prayers and learning the Quran. They did ask me to memorize the Quran, but I just give reasons, I said no, because I was in a convent school, so I'm not, and my heart, I knew already this Muslim thing is not a real thing. I knew, so I didn't focus so much. Yeah, and I'm very lucky. Like I said, my dad put me in a convent school, so
that is very lucky.
Yeah, very, very lucky.
But you did have some issues around the culture of silence in Islam, like in protecting Muslims, even if those Muslims are abusers, right? Tell me about that.
It's a difficult thing because that time I was only 6 years old, I think 5 plus, something like that. So we went back to for holidays. My dad got 3 weeks holidays every month. So we went back home. That's where my uncle is. At first he just fooling around, holding me. I thought it's normal, because I'm a kid. I don't know anything. Caress my breast and you hold my private part. So I didn't see it. And then in the night, he came to my room. He came to the bed, on my bed. All of us, all six of us, my sister, my brothers, but he targeted me. I don't know why. So he came and sleep beside me and he started playing my breast. There's nothing there, and my private part, and then he just put his thing
Okay.
inside.
And did you tell your parents about that?
She told her mom.
I told my mom when my mom is very sick that time. I told her, but she didn't say anything because she can't wait. It's already past. So just let it go.
Was it your
I
mom's brother or your dad's
didn't,
brother?
my mom's youngest.
She didn't say anything to him. She didn't protect you from him.
No.
Ah, CT. That's what happened to me too. I know. Thank you for talking to us about that today. I know how difficult that is, and I'm very grateful for you, for your bravery, for sharing this. Either Pat or Siti, can you tell me why do you think your mom chose not to protect you and to stay silent about this?
That is our culture, We women don't have the power. If I talk to my dad also, he won't want to say anything. That is the culture. They don't respect women as well. If I talk to them, they just ignore it like nothing happened. And if I say something, and if my uncle turn around and say, no, I didn't do it. So where's the logic there?
So like personally, I think it was a horrible decision for her mum not to say anything. Because even if you did say something, they might not have kept taking you back there because they'd have like trips in the summer to go to the uncle's place. And
But that time I was little.
yeah, maybe not at the time, but
Yeah.
later onwards, like
Yeah,
it's better to sort of tell the
Yeah.
truth and not say anything. But like as a kid, you're probably just scared and whatnot. But this type of thing is quite common in Malaysian communities where there is fundamental Islam just because of the relationship between Islam and women. And it's quite alarming that Malaysia is considered moderate because even though she says she grew up in a secular home and everything, even a secular home in Malaysia is not what you would call a secular home here. You would still have strong elements of Islam just from the culture. So this type of thing is super common. Like this guy was a serial rapist. Like he raped his sister as well.
Yeah, my cousin.
The cousin, sorry. He had two families, and one of the families just died because he couldn't provide for them. Like they literally just couldn't survive.
Yeah.
Because he married once and then he married again, and I think it was the second family. He just couldn't provide for them, so they just starved to death. Like, yeah, I can't really comprehend that level of depravity or evil.
The level of depravity and evil of all of the people around him that are facilitating this, so almost supporting it, empowering him by not going to the authorities, by not, why this culture of silence that protects the perpetrators of abuse, like they're all complicit.
Yeah. Like I said, men, they have power, especially Muslim men. They have the power, and if they won't admit it. No, no way. So we ladies are the victims. That's it. That's why when I got this, my husband, is a Eurasian. He's a mix of Indonesian, Dutch, and So I grabbed him because I don't want to. I don't want to involve with a Muslim man. Then I have to go to the phases again. So when I got him, so whatever he says, I just follow. So we go as far as the Seychelles Island, because he's a chef. So from there, I mix around. I knew already I won't want to be a Muslim. I want to get out of Islam. Yeah.
So did I. But you're lucky they let you marry a non-Muslim man because that's another one of the rules. But your dad sounds like he was pretty open-minded. Yeah.
There's a problem as well. He came to my mom and said, we got so many Muslim men here. Why your daughter choose a non-Muslim? And my mom said, I don't know. That is her life. That's up to her.
Oh, that's
That's
great. Mm.
So my dad grew up Christian, I'm pretty sure, and he'd get beat up trying to see her.
Yeah.
Like every time he tried to see
Oh.
her, the shit beat out of him because they didn't want
They beat
Christian
him.
and Muslim communities to intermix.
Wait, so
So
his family were beating him up?
No, just
no,
people from the community that knew they were
my
seeing each
my
other.
my people,
Yeah,
not his.
Muslim
yeah,
people.
and they
Oh, okay.
didn't.
I was like, Christian people are being okay. Muslim,
No.
that makes sense. Oh God. So they were just beating him up because he dared to have a Muslim girlfriend.
Yeah. And
Wow.
then made up his mind. He says, if you got a chance to go somewhere, we go. So he got a
Get out of
chance to,
here.
yeah. And then the
Yeah.
Seychelles, and from Seychelles, we come to Australia.
Mm. So have you been back to Malaysia since leaving in 91?
Before COVID, and after
Mm-hmm.
that,
I don't think she'll be going back anymore.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to you about another difficult and private matter because I don't know why I'm tormenting you today, CT, but you
it's
spoke to
okay.
me about um you're a survivor of FGM, which is an Islamic thing that was not a part of Malaysian culture, and it's up to I think 93% of Muslim girls in Malaysia or some astronomical number like that are victims of FGM. Obviously, that's not true for other, Indian Malaysians or
Okay.
Chinese Malaysians or Christian Malaysians, but that's what it is in the Muslim community. Um, so can you tell me about that practice? Like what happened there? Tell me about that experience.
I was a kid, so so I didn't feel the pain, but I remember that my mom held me and my aunt, and they do it the job, with the razor blade.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I didn't feel the pain because I was
You said it was really painful just yesterday.
no, 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 now I
I don't know.
remember.
I don't know how you probably blocked out the pain because I don't think anybody can take a razor blade to your genitals and you not feel pain. So you
I
probably disassociated.
I didn't know it's a razor blade until my younger sister went through it. I saw six of us.
Now, did that affect your ability to trust your mom or your aunt? Like, did you feel betrayed by your family that they would do this to you? I mean, it's not just the
No,
act itself, but then afterwards you have to heal from it. You have
yeah,
an open wound.
no. Before that, they give us a long lecture. It's good, you blah blah blah. You have to follow. This is our culture. This is our Muslim, Islam. Have to be clean. You do that. Blah blah blah. All this. So we didn't feel the pain. Nothing. We just get it. The job done. That's it. And yet, the small kids, 6, 5, 4 years old, I can't comprehend. And
You're
my
a
mom,
mother of daughters now. I have daughters as well, and you as a mother, can you imagine ever doing that to Pat when she was 5 or 6 years old, or to any of your other children?
oh no, no, no way. There's not a slide in my mind that they are going to do to even my son as well. No,
Yeah,
it's up to them. But
that's just.
men compulsory, they have to do it.
Yeah, it's one of my first things I learned, like first class at university ever. They said, we're talking about FGM, don't judge that culture. That's the first thing I
Oh,
learned in a university class. Something is wrong here with these schools.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, that makes it so much worse in my eyes. Like, call it the bigotry of low expectations, that's fine. Call it whatever you want. But these people are indoctrinated and they are part of this system that lets them believe that something so barbaric is the right thing to do, right? But when
yes,
you're in Australia or America or Canada and you're supposed to be like a grown adult with a functioning brain, you're a college professor, you're a medical professional, and you say things like that, like I have zero, like there's no excuse for you. I can come up for excuses for those who are indoctrinated, But I have no excuse for people in the West, educated people in the West, who choose to perpetuate these barbaric practices because they say it's culture. Who gives a fuck if it's culture, right?
Mhm.
Slavery was culture. Burning virgins in volcanoes was culture. Like, who the fuck cares? Why is culture something that we're supposed to uphold? And even if it's religion, I don't care. These are barbaric practices, and you know it. They know it. Why are they pretending that they don't know? Like, you're medical professionals, you know that this is, you don't even have to be a medical professional. You have a functioning brain. You know that you shouldn't be taking a razor blade to a little girl's genitals, a perfectly healthy child, and chopping off her clitoris. You know that that is not what you should be doing. You know that you should end up in a psych ward or in a prison if you do that to a child. And for them to just say, like, oh, don't talk about it, don't judge, you know what they're saying? They're saying, we don't care about those girls. Those girls don't matter. We're not going to raise our voices for them. We're not going to get, mixed up with the Muslim community and then have to deal with things like being called a bigot or a racist or Islamophobia. Who cares? Just let those girls get cut up. Just leave it. Don't talk about it. Just ignore it. They don't matter. That's what they're saying.
I agree.
Yeah, sort of like there's so much betrayal in Western education systems and in the legal system. So like what happened to you, for example, when you filed a complaint and went to court and they just said, oh, it's her parents' culture. I couldn't believe that when I read it because I hadn't read a proper case like that because they tend to shy away from that in human rights law, international law, and law school. So you don't get a lot of that exposure. And yeah, I think it's fucking terrible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the Islam uh, community they got they got brainwashed, I think,
Yeah,
from
for
that
sure.
from the priest. I do not know, but
No, I
I
have no doubt. They're brainwashed, not just on this topic, but on many other topics. There's no doubt about that. But it just makes it so much worse when it's people in Western secular civilized nations making excuses for it. They don't have the excuse of being brainwashed from birth. And I was going to say to you, Pat, that I've had a lot of people write to me from Australia. Actually, you guys have very similar issues with your child services. Like all of your focus on like diversity and inclusion and making sure that all cultures are protected, basically cultural relativism and stuff like that. There are lots of problems there as well. Similar level to Canada, actually. And your Aboriginal communities too. So many people, Aboriginal Australians, have written to me saying they ignore the abuse that happens in our families because they don't want to be like white saviors coming in and protecting these kids. So they just let it go. The most heinous things that they would never ignore if it was happening to a blonde Australian kid. But if it's happening to an Aboriginal kid, it's like, it's not really any of our business. No, you don't care. That's why. You don't care enough. You don't care enough
yeah,
to push and to deal with it because this little girl doesn't matter enough to you for you to have
Yeah.
to deal with any kind of, backlash that might occur.
Well, that's exactly it. And they try to care about other issues like change the date of Australia Day because that's when
Yeah.
Australians that's colonization, but don't worry about Muslim colonization. Like the focus is all on so-called Western wrongs and
Yeah.
no other accountability for other cultures, which have happened to be way more evil. I really resonated with something you said. I think it was on the first time you were on Sam Harris's podcast, and you said when you saw his TED talk in
Mhm.
2014, maybe I can't remember. It was the first time you saw someone in the West speak out for Muslim girls. And it really was like
Yeah.
that because after 4 years of um, my undergraduate degree, I never saw anybody speak sanely on the issue. And I just thought everyone had gone insane except for me. And then the
Yeah.
internet up in a way with the public intellectuals and everything. And I finally got to see someone, say, wow, this is really messed up. Like we need a proper standard for all peoples. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy making, isn't it? You're just like being gaslit by like the entire academic community, the all the media, all the politicians, like everybody's in on it. And you're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Like I was so, you know, social media is a double-edged sword, right? but it does really help a lot to be able to find other sane voices that are like, yeah, the emperor's wearing no clothes, like it's just it's like a collective madness that we're living in on so many different topics. Like obviously now that's very clear with the whole Palestine Israel issue. Like I just feel like we are just all being collectively gaslit. It's crazy. So that even when you say the most basic truth, um, people are just like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's like, I just said that the people who raped girls and kidnapped babies are bad. Like, like we're at the point now where even saying something as basic as that is like, oh, I'm so grateful. It's because we're all being
Say
gaslit
that.
to believe that they're the bad guys, they're the good guys, they're the freedom fighters, they're the resistance, they're the whatever. And so when you have somebody say like, no, you're right, they're lying, that's not true. It's just like, it's really nice. It's like being validated is so helpful for your mental health.
The level at which it's embedded in the universities, which is where I think all this nonsense started originally. It's insane because I'm a casual academic, so I get to see it from a staff perspective now and from a student perspective. And I don't know how it's going to be reformed unless they take out every single course that does this, which is a lot, which is the entire of the humanities department.
Yep, it's all by design. Slowly, propaganda creeping through. So CT, let's go back to you and your life when you moved to Australia. So you already knew before you even got to Australia, you already knew you didn't want to be Muslim anymore. You knew from a very young age. I thought
Yeah,
it was coming to Australia, seeing the freedom there.
when
But
I
what
was
was it?
after my period,
Mm,
I period 17 years. At that time, I already out from Islam. I don't have any praying man, nothing.
mm,
The thing is, my dad is very modern. He doesn't care whether you pray or you fast. So I got a
mm.
very good life. So
And your family, your more religious family, did they judge your father? Did they judge you? Have you dealt with any problems because of that?
no, because my dad has a good job, so they respect as well. So they don't force.
And she's asking if you
Yeah,
fight with your siblings, which you do. You're
yeah,
always on WhatsApp fighting with them about it.
yeah. My siblings, yeah. The other sisters, yeah. They followed the because I think I don't know. Maybe the thing is my dad sent me to convent school. The other sisters all Malay school. So
Oh,
I don't know why. I think I don't know.
But she's asking if you now have fights with like any arguments with your siblings or your brothers or
Yeah,
sisters.
of course.
Yeah, about Islam. You do
About
now.
Islam.
Yeah.
I do have fights with them, but they say that they told me, but you're Muslim, you're Muslim, sis. I said, no, I'm no more Muslim. But that's it. That's the only one that agree with me is my younger brother, and that's it. And my younger sister, two of them. The others all against me.
oh.
They say you live in the hell, sister. You don't follow all this. I say, no,
They
I'm not
say
going. I'm going
they
to
say
hell
what? Sorry, I missed that. You're going to hell. They tell you you're going to hell.
because I don't pray.
Wow.
I say it's okay. I go to hell or heaven. Doesn't matter to me. On this world, I want to enjoy myself. No fasting, no praying, nothing. I say, just enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them you're already in hell. So, uh, well,
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, my kind of observation of Mum's journey coming out of ex-Muslim, even though she's always resented it, you still did things like read the Quran and you were
Yeah.
still attached to certain ideas, even though
Yeah. I
you didn't
still,
like the culture, there was still this attachment to like the religious
uh,
foundations.
yeah, I
So
still, but until I think Sam Harris came up for the Muslim. He's so much against the Muslim. So I just concentrate. I think, oh, that's right. I think so. So the next day, I take my Quran, I go and chuck in the
yeah,
book.
I remember because there was a specific moment where we were watching one of his debates.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then she said to me, but the Quran's still good, isn't it? I'm like, are you listening to this guy? Like, no, the Quran's the problem.
Let
And
me
she's
turn
like,
the
yeah,
volume up.
I know, it's just like cognitive dissonance, you know, like you're hearing him, but you don't want to because you're still attached. And then it was like a week later, you threw the Quran in the bin.
That's
Yeah, so I think it happened in stages, you know, like she was always
yeah.
resentful, but she was forced to be into it. She came to Australia and then she could do things she actually likes, like singing and dancing. She's always loved that, and wearing colorful clothes, not being hidden. So there was a range of cultural things that would have subconsciously, I think, even if you can't see it now, impacted you. Yeah, because she loves like doing those activities. She's always been really social, and you just can't do that as a Muslim girl
No,
because
you
singing
can't.
and dancing
Yeah,
is considered haram or
that's
whatever it
haram.
is. Yeah.
Mm.
And obviously personal stories like yourself, like you have a very powerful personal story and narrative, and Ayan Hassi Ali. And I think together with like the debates from other intellectuals, you know, really like seal the deal for her. Because sometimes you can know something's wrong, but you don't know the working out of why it's wrong. You just kind of have the conclusion. So I think
Yeah.
like all that, yeah, contributed.
And then you have like a cultural connection too, because it's your family, your siblings. So you know, you don't completely sever the ties. That's pretty common. But you weren't raised with religion, so she didn't raise you to memorize Quran or to pray like you and your siblings. It wasn't
Yeah.
in the home.
Well, I was baptized a Mormon, if you can believe it. I was always going to send you
Wow.
pictures because I had a picture of me with these elders. They call them elders, the missionaries. And then, because I went to Malaysia once when I was 12 and I had to do that Hari Raya celebration. So I was dressed in a Muslim kind of costume. So I was like, that feeling when your parents make you Muslim and Mormon. It's like the two of the worst religions
Wow. You're the
stuck in.
first Muslim Mormon I've ever met.
Yeah, so like I was
Amazing.
raised like kind of generally Christian, and my mom just like associates like she's friends with anyone. So when Jehovah's Witnesses would come and visit us, she would like talk to them for 2 hours. Then she'd still say she's a Muslim, and then my dad was a Christian, so it was very confusing. I always kind of just
Mm.
thought it was all nonsense. Even when I was a kid, I didn't like going to church. I didn't like any of that. And then obviously when you get to high school and you read Richard Dawkins and you know people like that, you sort of learn more how to articulate things that you felt, I guess, similar to your situation about Islam.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a religious upbringing. Like I was always taught to believe in God and have some kind of religion, but yeah, I don't see any reason to at the moment.
Hmm. So, how has your mom's story impacted your story? Like, have you felt kind of, I'm gonna guess, you can tell me if I'm wrong and tell me your sense, but knowing kind of what your mom escaped or what she saved you from, you know, when she broke the cycle so that it didn't reach you, is that kind of what motivated you to become such an overachiever as you are? Were you just like feeling like, I need to take all these opportunities that I'm given because I know, I can see, I'm familiar with, as opposed to, you know, your average person in Australia, you are very familiar and like recognize acutely how lucky you are as a woman to be able to pursue whatever degree you want to pursue, live whatever life you want to live, sing, dance, you know, pursue whatever dreams. You're into the arts as well. Um, did that impact you?
Yeah, so I think how mum's experience impacted me, it gave me a really strong sense of right and wrong. And I think that
Mhm.
really motivates what I do, as you said, and the things that I choose to pursue. Um, So, you know, my work in academia has to do with constitutional law and animal rights, which is very different to what we're talking about here, but it's motivated by similar principles. Like you just have this,
Justice.
yeah, this
Yeah.
feeling of injustice. And it's the same feeling of when I think about what happened to my mom. So I know it's very much connected. The other thing it also gives is perspective. Like I think people, it didn't happen to me, so I don't want to speak like, well, you're my mom, but when you're that close to actual hardship and genuine suffering, you have really little tolerance for nonsense. And, you know, it's hard to kind of put up with, I don't know, someone had a bad day or for better or for worse, it kind of makes you see the bigger picture. And I've really tried to use that to, like, I guess to help others because,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think when you're in proximity to those type of experiences, it helps you be less petty in other situations because you're kind of just focused on who's suffering the most, how can I help them, you know, how can I get these group of individuals' rights, this is what's important right now. Like really gives you some perspective on those bigger kind of morally urgent issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that really bothered me when I was in Malaysia, at the time, there were these advertisements on TV and billboards and everything that would say, Malaysia truly Asia. But all I was seeing was niqabs everywhere, halal food. And like I was like, am I in Saudi Arabia or am I in Asia? Like, is this Middle East or what's going on? So I was like, what is Malaysian food? I keep on just getting all this Arabic food. There is a lot of tourists from the Gulf, and it's like everything was catered towards them and their tastes. And I thought that's a real injustice, like that I'm watching you be colonized right now before my eyes. And it's the same kind of sense that you get when you go to places like France and you're hearing Arabic, and it's like, I want to hear French. You know what I mean? Like you are it's like I'm not even from these countries. I'm not even Malaysian and I'm not even French. And I feel in my heart like a sense of like I'm so angry. And this is so unjust that these countries are being colonized right before our eyes and they're losing their cultures. And I'm wondering if either of you got that sense, if either of you felt that way. Because for me, it was so pronounced when I was in Malaysia. So I don't know how you can miss it.
How long ago were you there?
This 5, 6 years ago, maybe? No?
No, was probably actually, yeah, maybe it was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we were there, I was 12. That was in 2002, but you've been back more recently.
Yeah. That time
Mm,
it's not that bad.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no. But
It's
I knew
getting
it was
it's
going to be
getting
bad.
bad.
That's why I told to my husband, if you got a chance to leave Malaysia, you better go.
So
Then he
Yeah.
asked me, "Do you mind?" I said, no, I don't mind. You go.
let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
In terms of cuisine, where we stayed, which was KL,
Yeah.
Kuala Lumpur, traditional Malaysian cuisine is like curries and fried rice and noodles, and there's a lot of noodles and a lot of vegetables.
Vegetables.
So that didn't strike me as particularly Arabic. I've only been there once, and then another time for a law internship, but that's nothing to do with Malaysia. It's like something completely different. But
They have changed now.
it sounds like it, because when we were we were kind of concentrated to a particular area where it was very like kind of urban, like it wasn't very influenced by other things. So we still had a bit of that traditional Malaysian flavor in like food and culture,
And I mean, it's your family and you're from there, so you know where to go, and you're going to be getting a completely different experience than someone like me, like just a Canadian tourist, right? Like I'm going to the touristy areas. I don't know how to get to the local places that you are probably going to. So maybe that's why you and I had different experiences. But I have had many people write to me and talk to me, and people from Indonesia as well, and telling me about how they can't even name their children um, ethnically Malaysian or Indonesian names. They have to use like Arabic names or Muslim names because otherwise they're judged like, oh, why are you choosing that like
But
non-believer kind of name?
Indonesian, I think not that bad as Malaysians. Malaysians, they are the worst. They are the worst. I think because I think I see my sisters I know and my brothers I know. They all
Yeah.
follow the spouse, their spouse is Muslim. So my sister actually like me, modern. But then once they got married, they have to follow the husband. And the husband are Malays, Muslim,
Yeah.
I think appreciate this quick story. When we were leaving Australia, we had to have these things called ICC cards. It was some kind of travel card to leave Malaysia, and my sister didn't have a religion on hers. And the security person, like everyone gathered around and was like, "Why doesn't she have Muslim on there?" And like forced my dad to stamp it as Islam. And my sister said,
Wow.
"My dad's never held her hand so hard because he thought they wouldn't be able to leave. He was just like, yeah, just put Islam down there. Like everybody has to be."
Yeah, you got a problem.
It's crazy how I didn't actually know much about Muslim colonization in Malaysia, but I read a little bit about it after our conversation, Yaz. And yeah, there was a strong like Buddhist, Christian, and all
Yeah.
these other kind of cultures before the Islamization of Malaysia and all the practices they brought with them. So that happened around the 12th century.
Yeah.
I don't know why Muslims are looked at as victims and not colonizers when were as big colonizers as white people were. And you bring this up to academics and other people, and it's like you're talking to they're talking to a Martian. They just can't
Yeah.
handle, about the world.
That's the thing. Even now, when they're like, oh, there's 57 Muslim majority countries. Well, how do you think it got that way? Right? There's like, there's 27 Arabic countries or whatever the number is. It's like, how do you think they got that way? How do you think Egypt, which is North Africa, how do you think they became to speak Arabic and call themselves Arabs right now? How do you think that happened? Like obviously this was all colonization. And now they're talking about being like anti-colonialists. And it's an absolute joke because the colonization is currently happening right now as we speak. And they have the audacity for people these days to think that when they're supporting Muslims, supporting Palestinians, supporting Hamas, that's like some anti-colonialist activity. And it's like, they are the biggest colonizers. You have no clue what you're even talking about.
Yeah, and the Muslims themselves know that. Like they're not stupid about their own history. They're just acting that way so they can get away with a lot of practices and not assimilate here.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to open it up to questions and comments now. Let's start with you, Mars. Go ahead.
Thank you, Yasmin. To your guests, thank you for sharing your story with all of us here. I have a question for all three of you. I grew up in a very, very progressive area, and it just blew my mind coming up when I first started becoming aware of these conversations, how supposed progressives could be so dismissive of people who live in areas that do not have the same values as ours, but desire them. And I'm a huge fan of Sam Harris, and when he gave his TED talk on the idea about moral and cultural relativism a while back, he got into an argument with some. Yasmin, I have a small area of disagreement with you. You say some of these people have a functioning brain. I don't think they have a functioning brain at all. This professor went up to Sam and argued with him on his thesis, and he gave her the hypothetical scenario. If I came up with some kind of crazy religious book and wrote down some stupid phrase inside there called um, the third child walks in darkness, whatever, and some practice comes from it where every three babies that come out, they take a knife and you rake it across the child's eyes. And she asked these people, would that be good? And this professor actually looked up and said, well, let me think about it. And Sam was so shocked. He just walked away from the conversation. And that should be the easiest question to answer whatsoever. And excuse my French, it drives me insane to hear this bullcrap coming from people who live in societies that are as who give us the rights, who are against misogyny, against homophobia, etc. My question to all three of you, but especially you two, is what would you say to these progressives who endorse this kind of cultural relativism? I see it over and over and over again, not just with Islam, but with China, with just everywhere. I don't understand it, but what would you say to, excuse me, again, what would you say to these morons?
They're very stupid.
That's it.
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
I
To the point.
I think the brains had gone down to the
Yeah, I honestly think that kind of mentality stems from narcissism. Like, if you genuinely care about issues of injustice, then you would pick an issue of injustice and support it because there are genuine issues of injustice outside, um, ex-Muslims. There's North Korea. There's genuine causes of suffering. So you would actually get behind one of these causes. There's so many, just pick one instead of trying to say that Westerners are still oppressed, which I don't believe. I'm sure they face significant issues in other ways. Every individual has their own challenges, but I don't think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that any Westerner is oppressed in a historical kind of way or however they claim. So I can't see any other reason apart from just pure narcissism, wanting to look like a good person, wanting to virtue signal, why they act like this, and then they dismiss genuine issues of suffering because it doesn't look good or it's not widely supported. Like, that's the only logical reason. I don't know if Yasmin has another.
I think their brain are not working and they're, like you said, brainwashed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what I would say. Unfortunately, my language is well over PG-13, but thank you both for answering.
I mean, we started this with me dropping F-bombs all over the place, Mars, so it's okay. This is a safe space.
We love the passion.
So we have a question from somebody who doesn't want to ask you themselves directly. So CT, I'm going to ask you for them. They're asking, do you celebrate Hari Raya, which is called Eid? Do you still celebrate it? If no, does that make you feel sad? And how do you deal with that?
I don't celebrate Hari Raya because we normally leave the country all the time. So I don't celebrate and I don't feel anything. It's just a normal thing for me. Yeah. And my husband also encouraged me, don't worry about Hari Raya. We just enjoy ourselves. Every day also can be Hari Raya. So
That's right.
Yeah, I don't feel
There's lots
anything.
of so many
Yeah,
other things to celebrate. Yeah,
yeah. And no
wonderful.
fasting.
Best part. No fasting, no praying. Done. Sign me up. Sarah, you're next.
Thank you, Yasmin. Hi, Pat. Hi, CD. First, thank you for your courage, CD, for sharing the story here with us. People in the chat are just, they cannot stop. We are all amazed by your courage and really appreciate you. And Pat, thank you for bringing this conversation here. I really appreciate both of you. First time we talked, we were on Instagram, and Pat, you sent me a picture of your mom with our favorite book unveiled. And then you talked to me about how this book has changed the way she looks at the world and how she is now ready to tell the world that she's an ex-Muslim. And we both published this picture. Can you tell us a little bit about why this book affected both of you the way it did? Because I know why it's so important to me and how it touches my heart and it makes me feel seen and safe and sane. And I'll be forever grateful to Yasmin for writing that book alone. So tell me about how you feel about it and why.
So for me, I think it's the most fucked up thing I've ever read is Yasmin's story. And I've read some pretty, and I've experienced and seen some pretty messed up things, but her life, I don't know, it's just a hellish nightmare. And I just think if someone can get out of that and not just survive, but be, a successful author, a public intellectual, and do all these amazing things that everyone with any kind of aspiration wants to do. I just think anyone can overcome anything if we just have enough will and enough strength, because I don't know of any situations worse than Yasmin, honestly. And she is where she is today, and it just blows my mind. I don't even have words for it. So I think it's just that overcoming something so horrible.
For me, she's very, very brave. I salute her. That's it. I know it. The same thing happens to me, but she's worse than me.
You really
Yeah,
connected with the
I got a very good family. Got a very good dad, mom. So it's not that bad. Just the raping thing. That's really, really touches my heart.
Because I remember when she was reading Yasmin's book, she wouldn't want to talk about it after because it was just too emotional, some of the parts.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't push her to because just because of her own experiences. And then afterwards, she was just really quiet and we just didn't talk about it for quite a while. And then when she was ready, we started discussing Yasmin's life and, reaching out to Yasmin and everything. But yeah, it's hard to put into words.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I have a saying in my head when I get stuck that I don't know what to do. I say, what would Yasmin do? And that helps me think and be more clear in my path. And I feel like that's what connected us because I could see how you love that book and you understand that book. And I see why today, right now. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you, my lovely. Evan, you're next.
My question is sort of about cultural trends, and I always get curious about this when you have people discuss like who come from these sort of cultures, like discussing the past and sort of like the present, like so I just naturally get curious about like where the future is going. Like, do you see especially like among like Malaysians like under 35 or so, like 35 and under, is there attitudes towards like more growing like Sam Harris or Dawkins skepticism? Is it more of like is it modern views towards like women or Christians or Jews, or are they like becoming more like fundamentalists, or are they turning towards like having a religion like be the center focal point for the entire political and social life? Like, what direction do you see for the younger Malaysians?
Are you familiar? I mean, you haven't been to Malaysia since you were 12 years old, you said was the last time you were there. So I don't know if you would really have a sense of this, but I guess if you think of the conversations your mom is having with her siblings on WhatsApp, because I guess you guys aren't going there very often, but are you getting the sense that the younger generation of Malaysians are kind of becoming more open-minded and are leaning more towards, secular thinking, or do you find that they're more towards religious, becoming more religious?
Or becoming more religious.
Are they?
Yeah,
The younger generation.
younger generation. Because they have to follow their parents, and their parents is,
Yeah, it's hard to say because there's like influence of social media, and I know there's revolutionary things happening in places in the Middle East, and even a place like Saudi Arabia slowly making progress towards becoming less insane, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's
it has
really
to get like more extreme before it gets better. It's almost like it actually is it's an actual revelations. Because the Bible talks about revelations, and now there has to be all of the crisis, and a third of the population has to die, and the water has to become like blood. And a lot of these trends, it's like actual revelation, like something out of that book. It's like it has to get more like chaotic, and it has to get more like intolerable before it gets better.
pretty bad
Chaotic
though.
enough.
It's already very like when I was there in 2002, I didn't see it, but apparently someone got their head sliced off. My brother and Rudy told me, and my dad, but they just didn't tell us about it. Like they witnessed this like horrible thing. I don't know. I guess it could get worse, and then they have some sort of cathartic moment and get better. But I it's already so terrible there.
It is, and you had one of your ministers at one point was saying something about like hunting down atheists in Malaysia. So there's, obviously there's zero tolerance for free thinkers or for people who are renouncing Islam in that
And is it
country.
even in the
So,
cities, by the way? I just want to think about, is this true even in the cities? Because like, Kuala Lumpur like, gets reputations for like being modern, progressive, sort of like Singapore. But is this stuff happening even in a place like Kuala Lumpur? That would be like really like sort of getting under your skin to think that it could stretch even towards the urban centers.
oh, for sure. That was my experience. Do you find that as well, guys? Is it more mostly in the villages, the smaller towns, or are you seeing these mindsets in the bigger cities as well?
For me, I think it's everywhere
Mhm.
because there are more Muslims there than any other races.
Right. They're the majority.
Well, in the cities, because it looks in some places it looks kind of secular and looks more liberal, and people look happy. But when you talk to them, they still have the same problems with the treatment of women. They still have rape in their families. The dad still has like 4 different wives and can't provide for 3 of them. So I'm not convinced it's any better in a more modern city. Like maybe it's a little bit better. But I think as long as you have these really terrible ideas that are linked to Islam and the Quran, you're always going to have these problems. Unless you significantly reform it. Because if it's reformed to the extent that it needs to be, I feel like it's going to be a different religion. Like, I don't.
My own sister, the younger sister the husband's got 2 wives. She's the first wife. Never provide nothing, no clothing, no food. I have to put some money, and the other brothers and sisters have to provide her, to give her food and everything. And he got a second wife.
Are they in the city? Do they live close to the city?
Yeah, close to the city, yeah. I got a second wife. He just ignored the first one. And we have to support her. And she got 6, 7 kids.
Oh my God.
It's nothing. And then one of the kids passed away, died. I think she sees that the family is in turmoil, She went up to her friend's place, the 6th floor in the units, and she jumped down. Killed herself. That time she is about 15 years old, 16 years old.
A lot of problems with the other side of the family.
The husband prays 5 times a day, never miss fasting. Very good religion. But no, that's why I see all this. fucked me up.
As long as you're praying 5 times a day and you're fasting in Ramadan, that's what makes you a good person. Feeding your
It was so
children and providing shelter for your family.
He's gonna
It's
get those
not part of the criteria. Yeah. On that depressing note, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Australia, your new home now, because I wonder if you're starting to feel just disheartened with seeing the anti-Semitism that's growing in your country is probably akin to what's happening in Canada too. Like it's through the roof. We've all heard about those two nurses who were talking about killing Israeli or Jewish, actually. They talked about killing Jewish patients. And then 60 Muslim organizations came forward to speak up in support of these nurses. So it's like it's not bad enough that you've got these two nurses. You can't even say, oh, it's just two random crazy people. No, because 60 Muslim organizations, not individuals, organizations, all came forward to say, we support these nurses. So you definitely have a problem there with your extremist Muslims, with your, Islamist, jihadis, like they're there. So how is that feeling for you? Are you feeling like, does that make you nervous? Does that make you terrified? What is your sense of what's happening in Australia? You escaped from all that, came all the way to Australia, and it's followed you here.
Like I said, they are all everywhere. They kill, they murder. That's what they do, I think. That's why in the Quran also say, you kill the infidels, you murder the. So
until the problem of jihadism, that's I think an accurate term for it, these people that want to kill non-believers and just the most extreme of this already extreme demographic of people is taken seriously, and there's like a national urgency thing declared with proper laws to keep people that believe these things out. It doesn't even need to be like an anti-Muslim thing, just have a criteria of this is the type of people that can't live in Western civilization. I don't know, it's just going to get worse. So I've kind of accepted that until we see governments taking it seriously. And they're so reluctant to, like what's going on in Britain with the UK, with the rape gangs, the Muslim rape gangs. They're so reluctant to do it because they don't want to look, it's the type of thing that we talked about before. They don't want to look racist because of all these ideas that have been indoctrinated, started from the universities going into all other areas. So they're started to prioritize these just stupid reasons not to hold a certain group of people accountable. And yeah, until that's taken seriously, like the threat of Islam, the threat of fundamental Islam, radical Islam, and jihadism, I think it's going to get significantly worse. One of the good things about the Israel and Palestine war, one of the silver linings, I think, is that it's made people more outspoken against Islam. And I've seen, even like just amongst my circle of friends, people that were previously reluctant to say anything are now, like it's a big wake-up call to a lot of people. So I kind of have a bit of faith in that. That those conflicts and just other things that are happening around the world and more people speaking out, I think is the only thing that's going to change, because the government won't do it until it gets more public support to do it. So it starts with the people, I guess.
Us. I think the Muslims, they hate other races, other religion. They hate it. They want to be the number one, so they can rule the world.
Yeah, well, they want a caliphate. Like they're very clear in what they want. So it's even more insane that people don't want to admit that is what they want. It's like
it's what they want.
It's almost patronizing to them, though. It's like they're making their values very clear. They're making their aim very clear and objective. And you're just saying, "Oh no, don't say that because it's racist." It's like, yeah, so crazy.
I completely agree. So before I let you guys go, because we're close to time now, it's time to conclude our conversation. And I just want to make sure that you both had an opportunity to say whatever you wanted to say, share any last words or advice with us, or words of wisdom, or let people know where they can follow you, or anything at all. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here, and I hope I don't have any enemies after this show. I hope so, but it's okay.
I hope so too.
Okay. I already said my mind out. I'm okay now. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just deeply honored to be here
Yeah.
in conversation with you. Like we've looked up to you for so long. I followed you ever since 2019.
Yeah,
And I got your book.
Patricia,
I've read
yeah.
it quite a few times. And recently again, in preparation for this podcast. And I just admire everything you do and Sarah as well. So we're really, I just feel really grateful for this opportunity because you're a super high profile person, obviously,
Yeah.
ex-Muslim, and to have mum be able to share her story just means everything to us.
Oh,
So
that's very sweet.
thank you very, very much.
Hi. Thank
Yes.
you very, very much. I'm really grateful to you for coming here and sharing your story and being brave. And I really hope that there's no backlash either, CT. And you know what? You
Okay.
got it off your chest. You spoke your mind, and it's cathartic. It's cathartic for you, and you're very brave, and you did that. So you can be proud of yourself for doing that. And whatever people want to bleat or, monkeys want to make noise over that, that's their business. That's their business. What you need to know is that you are brave, you are courageous. You spoke your mind. You did not allow yourself to be silenced by these bullies, and be proud of yourself for that. Just carry that with you.
Thank you very much, Yasmine.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great night or morning, day. It's so early for you guys. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
After hearing all that, you might be left wondering, what can I do? How can I help? Well, this is why I created a nonprofit called Free Hearts, Free Minds. We are the only organization dedicated exclusively to helping these free thinkers. We empower them with our programs and supportive community, lifting them up so they can heal, speak out, and begin to make positive changes, not just in their own lives, but within the broader community around them. If this is a cause that resonates with you and you want to make a difference, one way to do that is by donating to Free Hearts, Free Minds. Because not enough people care about this cause, we need people like you to help fuel this change. You can donate via our website, freeheartsfreeminds.com. Thank you. Every dollar you donate makes a difference.